welcome. Island in the sun. I have spent most of today on Canvey Island. Canvey Island. Go look at it, Google it, Wikipedia it. It's not been sunny today, it's been on and off sort of drizzly and a little bit windy, but it's been a cracking day. The video that follows, you will see some of the silliness that I've been involved with. One of the things that I wanted to show is the effect of tide. I know not all of you live near tidal water, and how tides work is quite a big subject, but very quickly, the Earth is a globe and it has the moon going round it and it goes round the sun, and the sun and the moon both exert gravitational pull, and the gravitational pull pulls all of the water to one side or the other. There are other factors as well, which if you live on Canvey Island you really should know. You've heard the weatherman talk about low pressure systems and high pressure systems, where the air is in effect heavier or less heavy. The difference between a high pressure system and a low pressure system is about 6 inches of water, because what keeps the water down is the weight of the atmosphere on top of it. So if you reduce the weight of the atmosphere on top of it, more of it can come in. The other thing that Canvey Island people worry about is what we call storm surges. I don't know how many of you really know the geography of England, but if you imagine that Kent is the bottom corner and you've got the English Channel down here and you've got the North Sea up here and you've got the River Thames, and Canvey Island sits in the River Thames. If you get stormy weather coming up the channel, that will push the water and it will come round into the Thames, and where it surrounds Canvey Island the water level will come up. And equally, if you get wind blowing down the North Sea, storm surge down the North Sea, again it's going to come up the Thames. And the worst possible scenario for Canvey Island would be a spring tide following a dark moon, when the tide is naturally at its biggest, with a low pressure system sucking the water in, with a peculiar weather system pushing water up the channel and down the North Sea. A thing like that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's devastating. While you are Googling and Wikipediaing Canvey Island, look up the floods 1953. Bit before I was born, but quite a lot of people on Canvey Island died, and not just Canvey Island, down the east coast of England and on the coast of Europe. So hopefully we'll be able to show you some of that. But before we do, one of the other things that made it a special day, you know, this is one of those I wish it could be Christmas moments. I got a delivery. Now, apart from I'm a customer, I have no relationship with this business, but I will show you his business card because I am very well pleased with him. Very well indeed. What he has sent me, look at this. In the box, not just points, but points with electric motors. They will go on an extension railway that I'm building, and can you all read that? Can you all understand it? Anyone out there be able to translate that into English for us? A box of large radius curves. So that really was the icing on the cake. Been a cracking day. I'm going to go and do things with the computer and video and such likes. Well, boats that aren't in constant use and getting constant attention, they sort of, well, they develop an unhealthy sort of smell, and they collect stuff. I'd never really know how stuff gets collected by a boat. So I guess a lot of what I want to be doing today is going to be de-stuffing Patricia. Now, if you've been watching carefully, you'll realise that the name on the front of this boat actually doesn't say Patricia, it says Patricia. Now, I've only been involved with this boat for about 7 or 8 years now, and we've always called her Patricia. But I did look carefully, and yeah, it says Patricia. Oh well, it's not your eyesight, Bruce, it's the sign writer. Now, our friend Cutworm, he said something about tides. They sort of confuse him a little bit. Well, there's Patricia sat on the mud. I took her up there on a very high tide. This was 18 inches deep with water. But if we turn round and we look at, oh hello, what are those birds doing? Birds chasing a crow, as they do over here. That's one of the beauties over here, is the wildlife. You know, you don't have to go looking for it, it's all around you. But yeah, this is where we are at the moment with the tide. The tide is making, it's coming in. You can tell that by the way that the bubbles are sort of moving. Now, in this particular bit, on a big tide, the water will be coming through here at about 8 miles an hour, which is why we got in so much of a state the other day. But yeah, that's the tide on its way in. This particular little side creek, when it's empty, it's only got about half an inch of water in the bottom of it. Something else I'm going to show you. Am I going to show you? If I can show you without getting too close to the water. Right, down here on the mud, just the little green shoots coming through, that's samphire. And give it a month and we'll pick some of that and eat it. You lightly steam it, well, you wash it first and then you lightly steam it and you have it as a dressing with fish. And if you go to the supermarkets, a handful of that costs several pounds. Or if you come down here with me, you can have as much of it as you want for nothing. Because there it is, growing wild. So I've tugged on this object and it all sort of fell apart like that, and out of it fell those. I'm going to take them home, dry them out, put them on the bench, see if I can get them apart, see if we can make them work, because I know the price of a new pair. Well, that's a jolly good box. Look, it holds water and spark plugs. I wonder how good the spark plugs are. And just to illustrate how much water we get coming in on the tide, we've still got about 40 minutes before
the top of the tide, but we're just going to have a look over the bank. When you do walk about on a marsh like this, you always watch out for ropes and things, because, you know, that water is cold and deep, and if you drown you don't get your pension. But there we are, the tide coming in. And then you find things that you might not have wanted to find. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to carry on and dig this out and see what we've got. Well, at least it's empty. I'm not too sure how much longer I can walk around the mud around the side of the boat. That's okay. I've done a lot of scrubbing. Well, there's a lot of water. Well, we're nearly afloat. And all I'm doing is just shifting my weight and rocking the boat. I've still got a bit more tide to make. You can see in the middle there, you can see how quickly it's coming in. Still making quite strongly. That will go glassy flat just at the top of the tide, but for now that's running in quite well. This is what the creek looks like when the tide is in. And I think I'm going to get wet feet now. Well, at least I know she floats.